Well, kind of day two of the last minute trip to Utah. Don't have a lot planned. Right now, sitting in the Valley of the Gods. Um, this was the original destination because I knew I could drive through here in the dark and probably find a halfway decent campsite. This is probably the third time I've been here. Um, Today, it is a little late in the morning, almost 9 o'clock, but it's cold last night, and you know it's just now starting to warm up so that I don't need to wear a coat. Um, Rue and I did our walk, so yeah, it's so quiet out here, it's so peaceful. Surprising amount of campers out here, I guess. I don't know why I'm surprised or if I should be surprised. But especially near the first entrance where it's really easy to get to, number of campers. Most people are either in some sort of off-road RV or a tow behind trailer type camper. But yeah, it is quiet and beautiful at night. I was really hoping to do a time lapse of the night. And, on this Insta360, I thought the time lapse was done, and evidently it wasn't. And I hit the button and it deleted everything it had. So that's a bummer. But yeah, just a quick walk around. One thing about moving from a full-size pickup to the Grenadier is space. Space has been a challenge. I get this El Diablo, I think, off-road drawer that really handles a lot of the knickknacks very well. So that was a saver, space saver for sure. And then the who makes this thing? GP Factor. Fold-out table. That's a nice lifesaver. Don't need to bring an extra table. So the big thing, especially during the winter, is the diesel heater, which I have somewhat disassembled already for the day. But this is the Stark's Overland diesel heater. This is the second season I've had it. I've gone through, or Sparks Overland, sorry. I've gone through a couple diesel heaters, the cheap ones, right? In fact, because this one's kind of big, has a pretty big fuel tank. It works very well, very efficiently. It's very quiet. But it takes up a lot of space. So that's been a challenge. And so in December, I bought just one of those cheap H-calorie suitcase things that has a gas tank in it just to see if I could have more space. And I was severely disappointed because I ran it for like 6 hours before taking out on the trip. And our trip down into the Comanche National Grasslands, the first night, it is December, so it was cold out at night. The first night, the thing crapped out about 4 hours in. And, it's like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'm out there fiddling with it, trying to get it to work again. I think it was the fuel pump or oil pump was broken. It's really hard to say, but it looked like it was cavitating. So I don't know if there's like something in the fuel line or what. But H-calorie, failed me big time. Can't return it. It's bought on Amazon. Once you put diesel fuel in that thing, you can't return it. And then, I tried to post to their page on Amazon and to their support link on Amazon. And as far as I know, they've never responded. So that thing's going to be dumpstered, I guess. I got all the fuel out of it. But Sparks Overland has never failed me. And so here's the question. This thing was expensive, and I think it was worth the price, right? You know, it's safe to use, it's well made, it's made in the USA or assembled in the USA. You know, the internal components are European instead of Chinese. I think the software, though, the controller is probably Chinese. But you know, it works great. Freaking works great. They have a smaller version that is, I think, only 2/3 the size of this one. That would save some space in the back here, right? But it's really expensive. I'm not sure I want to shell out again for another one. I'm sure I could sell this Sparks maybe for half of what I paid for it, but it's still expensive. Anyways, just want to show off a little bit of gear because I needed a table or something to put this this heater on, and you know, I had one of those wheel tables, but it was huge. It just didn't fit in the back right, and it wasn't really multi-purpose. All you could do is use it as a table. This thing from Eagle Peak, I found this on Amazon. I think it's just an Amazon company. I don't even know if they have a real website, right? But this whole thing collapses into a little suitcase. And when it pops up, it can hold like 70 pounds or something. I can't remember the exact spec. And then what's even cooler on the inside is you can put shelves in and keep some stuff in there while you're camping. And zip it up and it stays relatively clean. Probably doesn't, it might stay a little dry. You know, I think the bottom might fill with water if it was to rain hard. Something I will have to experience probably. I don't even know if it's a big deal if the bottom fills with water. I haven't really thought of that. But that's okay. Anyways, moving on. Just a quick review of the Intrepid tent. I'm not going to go up in it, but you can see it from out here. I am very, very, very happy with this tent so far. The one thing I got to figure out is I noticed some weird creaking noises when I was on trail. Stuff probably flexing around. I couldn't really pinpoint it because I was inside the truck, right? But I don't know if it's my setup or if load bars are not completely tight. I think they're tight. I mean, I checked them. They seem tight, but there's a creaking noise. Kind of sounds like it's coming from the top. It could just be flex. I don't know. And quite honestly, my previous rooftop tents were over the bed of a truck, so maybe they were creaking too, and I just couldn't hear it. Anyways, tons of room in this thing. The one little thing that I didn't think about is because there's so much more space inside this thing, you know, the diesel heater doesn't quite get it quite as warm. I mean, I could probably seal it up a little bit better, but I wanted the window open so that when the sun came up this morning, you know, the window's clear. I could see the sunrise, and that is freaking awesome to wake up and look out and see the sun resting its first rays over the canyon here. It's so freaking beautiful. Yeah, I could do this all, you know, full time for sure. Leaving Valley of the Gods, I could not find my magnetic mount for my camera, and I also could not find the camera remote, so did this with the Insta360 stick. A little bumpy, is definitely awkward. Silly thing is, when I got home and unpacked the truck, I found both the remote and the magnetic mount right where I thought I put them. I just didn't look deep enough into the bag. This is a side road that leads through the Valley of the Gods and dead ends at the last campsite. It's a pleasant and secluded path away from the noise and dust of the main road. The main roads are dirt roads, 2 vehicles wide, and generally easy for most vehicles to navigate. However, there are a few places where you can take the side roads. These roads don't venture too far from the main road, except for this one. I believe this might be the only one that goes this far off the main road. In this particular case, a stock 4x4 could easily get through here. A fairly high crossover might get through here. If you're pulling a small to medium-sized travel trailer and you're comfortable with a slight off-camber condition in a few spots and a couple ruts to cross, you could easily pull a travel trailer through. I ventured onto a BLM area that wasn't marked on any of the maps except for the road that passed through it. Upon entering the BLM from the main highway, I had to open a wire gate and drive through. Please remember to always leave the gates as you found them. These gates are there to protect grazing livestock, which is common in BLM areas. If you listen carefully, you might hear some noise coming from the truck. Kind of sounds like a creaking noise. I had searched for it before and couldn't really find anything, but I was also laying in the dirt and didn't want to get totally covered in dirt. I think it was a rock on top of a skid plate, and the rock was rolling around. At some point, the noise just went away, and everything was as quiet as it was before. So hopefully it was just a rock and not something coming loose. Is it? This was a section right after the deep sand. I didn't film during the deep sand because it was along a ledge. Wasn't super sketchy, but I also didn't want to try to hang on to the camera and get through there. But you can hear the truck is in low range, which is required for locking the front and rear diffs. But the Grenadier had no troubles. The section was relatively uneventful. It was sandy and extremely hot, with a lot of cow manure scattered around. There were a few spots that I thought I could camp, but they had been blown over with sand and looked impossible to access. I didn't want to risk it and potentially get stuck. On the other end of the road, where it rejoined the highway, I did find a couple of spots that could be used for camping in a pinch. However, there wasn't much to see or do. We headed over to John's Canyon Road, which I found through Onyx Off-Road. This is a 2-rated road. I would say the only difficult part is this section here where it's a shelf road, and it's a little bit narrow, not too bad, but narrow enough that if you encountered another vehicle, it might be a little uncomfortable. But it didn't last very long. This is approaching the very end of the trail. There were a lot of cows here. Getting over this little rocky section was really no big deal, but definitely need a high clearance vehicle to manage some of the angles there. This next little section was a little blown out from erosion. Really, if you have no issue with being off camber and stick to the one side of it, it was no problem. But if you did get into the washout, you would probably be stuck. Kind of at this point, I stopped filming. Lots of cow poo. We stopped briefly at what was a campsite, but it was just covered in cows. Kind of higher up was a road that I had meant to traverse, but decided not to. The sun was setting and needed to find a campsite. One of the cool things about Utah is that there's a lot of accessible places that are just outstanding, yet still remote. The road out to my current location was graded. The only sketchy part was a shelf road for a good portion with really long drop off. But I think it might be because this is BLM and there are cows grazing. We didn't go all the way to the end of the trail because there were a lot of cows and a lot of evidence of cow presence. And we only had like a quarter mile to go. I didn't imagine it'd be any better. And really didn't need to be involved with camping in around cows. That sucks usually. But the current location, it's just a mile up the road. Very, very remote. I don't think there's anybody else out here. Nothing but the wind. And pretty freaking cool. So I tried to get some drone footage. I'm not a very good drone operator. I just haven't sat down, taken the time to learn to fly this drone very well. One of my fears with the drone is having it crash somewhere where I cannot retrieve it. For instance, over this canyon. I'm a little less concerned about losing the drone and more concerned about leaving the waste on this beautiful landscape. Maybe someday I'll take a lesson on how to fly this thing and use the video recording properly. It's hard to believe I scored a campsite overlooking Monument Valley. Zoom in. Yeah, so that's Arizona over there. Navajo Nation are dying. And so this is the edge of my campsite. Huge cliff wall. And so way down there is the road I was on this morning to and from our first campsite. So we were further west here, but you can see one of the campsites. Kind of curious. I'm scared to walk around here, but yeah, I'd have to look at the map to see exactly where this road is, but yeah, that was one of various campsites. Mine was much better. Sorry, I got like sand in my eyes or something. It freaking burns. Yeah. Want to make sure I don't step off the edge here as I'm walking. Also, don't want to drop my phone. That would suck. All right. I mean, this first part of the fall won't be that far. Probably would hurt. Yeah, might kill me. But so definitely do not want to do that. But the beauty here is just amazing, and this is off Forest Service Road. I don't even know. I think this is technically Glenview Canyon Recreation Area. But this particular spot, I don't think you'd want to pull a van or an RV down, but there's a ton of spots all along there. There are very accessible spots. A couple spots you might need a little high clearance. If you get towards the end, it gets rocky. You definitely need high clearance towards the end. But you know, all along there, probably could. I wouldn't take a Honda Civic through there, but any crossover with a few inches of ground clearance, you know, 4 or 5 inches, should be able to get through there. Now there's some offshoot roads I didn't go down. At least one of them, definitely you would want 4x4. That was initially where I was going to camp. And then I came over onto this one. And yeah, this is going to be my office for Monday and Tuesday. Unless the weather gets crappy. But so far, I don't think so. Oh, and look, is that the San Juan River down there? Yes, well, maybe. Can't quite tell. Might be the San Juan River. That's San Juan River Canyon Valley. Not really sure what you call it. But I'm just always amazed by this country and the landscape. Time to depart this beautiful place. Truck's all packed. Last good view. We'll be back probably maybe this time next year. I don't think I want to come here in the summer, but I'm ready to go. And Rue's all set. There's Rue. Hi, Rue. We are ready to hit the road. I got meetings to attend, so I'll be stopping at least a couple times. It's going to be a long drive home. But you know, surprisingly, today would have been the best sunset or sunrise because it was a little cloudy. And believe it or not, you can really see Monument Valley back there. It really looks clear today. Oh well, I'll come back. See ya.